Television is, and always has been, about rules. There are certain words you can't say, things you can't show, people you can't talk about, places you can't go, and music you can't use. It's a real pain when you think about it. But what's the old expression? Rules are made to be broken. Nothing can grow and evolve if it sticks to what came before, and TV is no exception. I'm Si for Whatculture.com, and these are 10 TV episodes that broke all the rules. Number 10. The 10th Planet, Episode 4, Doctor Who. Regeneration is one of the defining traits of British sci-fi classic Doctor Who. The ingenious idea to give Time Lords the ability to change their faces and bodies when they are sick or wounded was first invented to get around the failing health of William Hartnell, the actor who first played the Doctor. Hartnell's final blow came in the finale of the 4-part serial The 10th Planet in 1966. Throughout his battles with the Cybermen, the Doctor grows weaker and weaker, eventually succumbing to old age at the end of the episode. His first body dies and he is reborn with a new face and a new actor, Patrick Troughton. This episode completely changed the game when it came to the format of Doctor Who. The show had given itself the ultimate get out of jail free card. If an actor playing the Doctor gets sick or wants to quit, then the showrunners can just hire a new one without disrupting the continuity of the show. It's a brilliant idea that has kept Doctor Who on TV for decades and will keep going for decades more to come. Number 9. Once More with Feeling, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Musical episodes are sort of an expected part of sitcoms at this point. Scrubs, Community, even dramas like The Flash, they've all had episodes in which characters show off their pipes, but one of the first major programs to use this concept was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In the episode Once More with Feeling, the gang do battle with a demon that forces people to reveal their secrets through the medium of song. Buffy, Willow, Giles, Xander, Spike, and plenty of others get in on the singing, creating a truly memorable and toe-tapping hour of television. The episode was an absolute nightmare to pull off, as the cast had to get extra vocal and dance training in order to make it all work. Series creator Joss Whedon had also never written music before, so this was all a huge risk. Thankfully, it paid off. To this day, Once More with Feeling is one of the most popular and well-received episodes of Buffy ever. It even used to get shown in theatres where fans could come and sing along. Once More with Feeling helped popularise the musical episode to the point where it has now become a trope. However, at the time, it was utterly revolutionary. Number 8. Mistaken Identity, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The whole premise of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was game-changing. Not only did it take a successful music star in Will Smith and transplant him into a sitcom, but it was also one of the first regular depictions of a black middle-class family on television. Naturally, race was often a focal point of the show's plots, particularly in the Season 1 episode Mistaken Identity. Whilst driving a Mercedes belonging to a family friend, Will and his cousin Carlton are pulled over by the police. Suspicious of the 2 young black men in a nice vehicle, the cops arrest Will and Carlton for the theft of the car. The episode explores just how unfair the situation is for the 2 boys. Whether they cooperate with the police or protest against them, they are still blamed for a crime that never happened. In amongst the usual Fresh Prince laughs, this is a deeply troubling episode about the state of the US justice system. It was so rare to see this sort of thing played out in a big TV show, and unfortunately, Mistaken Identity is still as relevant today as it was when it first aired in 1990. Number 7. Between a Rock and a Bra Place, Lizzie McGuire. Hilary Duff rose to fame as the part-animated teen idol Lizzie McGuire. Alongside her family and friends, Lizzie would navigate the various issues that came with being a teenager, such as school, boys, and what it means to be a woman. That last point played a huge part in the brilliantly named 2001 episode Between a Rock and a Bra Place. Lizzie and her friend Miranda notice that all the girls at school seem to change after they start wearing bras. Joined by overbearing mother Jo, the 2 teens go to the mall to get their own. The episode becomes more about Lizzie's relationship with her mum towards the end, but the fact that it began with 2 young women shopping for underwear is extremely important. This sort of thing wasn't seen on TV at the time, and it certainly wasn't seen from a female perspective. Ladies' undergarments were almost always the stuff of ridicule or titillation, but here it was, presented as a necessary and essential part of growing up as a girl. Full of important life lessons, it's no doubt that this episode of the show inspired a few conversations between mothers and daughters in the real world. Number 6. The Chinese Restaurant, Seinfeld. A bottle episode is one that is produced cheaply and easily, usually with a limited cast and in one location. The format is commonplace in TV nowadays, but one of the shows that helped pioneer it is Seinfeld, with an episode entitled The Chinese Restaurant. Jerry, Elaine and George are all out to dinner at, you guessed it, a Chinese restaurant. The episode takes place in real time as the three friends all deal with various issues whilst waiting for a table. Jerry thinks he recognises a woman, Elaine is starving, and George keeps trying to use the phone. On paper, this doesn't sound terribly exciting, and executives at the show's network, NBC, seemed to agree with this. They hated the script when they first read it, even asking co-creator Larry David if it had pages missing. In the end, the episode got made, and thank God it did. The Chinese restaurant is lauded as one of the first classic episodes of Seinfeld. One reviewer called it real life, but with better dialogue, and it helped to define the genre of TV shows about real people doing real things. Bet those execs feel dumb now. Number 5. Dr. Carter, I presume. ER. The season 3 premiere of hospital drama ER drops the bombshell that physician assistant Jeannie Boulay is HIV positive. Boulay, who had been portrayed by Gloria Reuben since the show's first season, is floored by the revelation, especially as she realises that she got the disease from her husband. In 1986, the year this episode aired, mentioning HIV on TV was a big no-go. Yes, the disease was still deadly in real life, but 96 was actually the first year to see a decline in deaths from the virus in America. However, this did not reflect on the small screen. This is why it is so remarkable that Jeannie never succumbs to her illness throughout the entirety of ER. She is shown receiving treatment and suffers setbacks, but she lives. Not only does she survive, but she uses her experiences with HIV to help others. She adopts an HIV-positive child, and after leaving the hospital, runs a clinic helping young people who also have the virus. Jeannie's diagnosis on ER and her subsequent storylines were utterly unheard of at the time, but they undoubtedly helped shape the way the disease was perceived by the general public. Number 4. The Last Night of a Jockey, The Twilight Zone. Considering how ahead of its time this surrealist horror anthology was, any episode of The Twilight Zone would have fit into this list perfectly. The one we've gone for though comes from the show's final season and stars former child star Mickey Rooney as a disgruntled jockey. Playing off of Rooney's real-life diminutive stature, he stood at just 5'2", his character bemoans his shortness and wishes to be taller. Overnight he gets his wish and is now 8 feet tall. However, because this is The Twilight Zone, things are not all that they seem. The Last Night of a Jockey went against the grain in 2 different ways. Firstly, Rooney's character was coarse, bitter, and pretty horrible to be around, which was a stark contrast to the chippy roles he had previously been typecast in. Secondly, he's the only actor in the whole episode. Rooney plays both characters in the story, the jockey and his magical alter ego, and the action never leaves his apartment. TV episodes with just one setting and one actor are a lot more common these days, but back in 1963, The Twilight Zone was the only show that could have pulled it off. Number 3. He's a Crowd, LA Law, True Love, Dawson's Creek. We're going for a double header in this entry because both of these episodes broke barriers in similar ways. LA Law was a legal drama that ran from 1986 to 1994. In the 1991 episode He's a Crowd, 2 female characters, CJ Lamb and Abby Perkins, share a kiss that was among the first of its kind to be shown on TV. 9 years later, on teen soap opera Dawson's Creek, characters Jack and Ethan share a passionate kiss, the first portrayal of such between 2 men. The He's a Crowd kiss may have only been a rating stunt, and Jack and Ethan never really developed their relationship beyond their kiss, but these were 2 huge moments in the representation of LGBTQ+ people on television. The 2 kisses drew positive and negative responses in equal measure, with advertisers pulling products from both shows just as often as media outlets praise them for their bravery. Other TV shows have done more for queer representation than these 2, but it's important to remember how radical these kisses were at the time. Without LA Law and Dawson's Creek taking the plunges that they did, we might be looking at a very different TV landscape today. Number 2. Plato's Stepchildren, Star Trek. Whilst we're on the topic of controversial kisses on TV, let's go back to one of the most famous lip locks of all time. Whilst dealing with a race of telekinetic aliens in this 3rd season episode of the original Star Trek series, Captain Kirk and Uhura take some time out to share a passionate smooch. This was quite a big deal, as William Shatner was white and Nichelle Nichols was black. Although not the first interracial kiss on TV, this was certainly the most high-profile one when the episode aired in 1968. Network executives freaked out to the possibility of upsetting TV viewers in the Deep South, but the response to the kiss was roundly positive. The late great Nichols herself stated in an interview that the episode received huge amounts of fan mail and that all of it was good. The episode is still remembered fondly by Star Trek fans, and this moment has earned its place in pop culture mythology, even if some people do wrongingly call it the first interracial kiss on TV. It broke new ground for a series that was already revolutionary and set the standards for TV romances for decades to come. Number 1. Episode 2. Twin Peaks. David Lynch's multi-dimensional murder mystery is widely regarded as one of TV's biggest and boldest experiments and has gathered a legion of cultish fans since it first premiered in 1990. The story follows FBI agent Dale Cooper as he attempts to solve the murder of a young girl in the titular town. In the show's second episode, Cooper is transported to a mysterious location when he enters a dream. This was viewers' first exposure to the Red Room. The room is part of the otherworldly Black Lodge, an alternate dimension home to several of the evil spirits that antagonize Cooper throughout the series. In episode 2, he is transported to the room and sees a vision of Laura Palmer, the murdered girl, and the man from the other place, a spirit who appears in the form of a man with dwarfism. The apparitions speak to Dale in a strange cryptic language and a mysterious black shadow moves across the wall. The whole thing is surreal and creepy as anything, and it is brilliant. Basically, any parody you've ever seen of Twin Peaks has this episode in there somewhere. Television had never seen anything like it, and to be honest, it probably hasn't seen anything like it since.